right, let's touch on something that's closer home. And this came in the wake of the COVID-19. You and your family were actually affected by this particular pandemic. Talk to us about the journey to recovery, or first of all, start with how exactly you knew you had COVID and the realization as it hit you that your family members are also exposed. Yeah.
It was the last week of May 2019.
2020, yeah.
2020.
Yes.
We are now in 2021.
Yeah, time flies.
Time flies.
Yeah.
And I have a small cold, which I thought it's normal, it's common.
I mean,
but I passed by the clinic and I got some little antihistamine and Panadol. Came
as
home.
we all do, yes.
The following day, I had a show in the Cathedral, and this time I have developed some cough. But I made sure that I didn't cough, but I coughed once. But it was like rolling down the cliff because things worsened. Okay. So from Tuesday to the next Tuesday, it was a week, and the Tuesday of the 2nd of June, I was taken to Aga Khan. So things rolled too fast, and now it stopped just being a cold, a cough. Now I'm feeling pain. I'm weak. Yes, I want to sleep most of the day. Yes. Well, I didn't. No. I still had my taste and my ability to smell. But I was generally weak.
Okay.
And I guess now I understand why people collapse and die. Because when your oxygen levels are going down and you don't know, and you haven't been into a hospital, you can easily collapse and die. And I almost collapsed here outside the house. So fortunately, my wife would take me to hospital. I went to Aga Khan Hospital where they did the testing. And after that, they called me and said, quickly, you need to come. You have COVID, and it's COVID pneumonia. Therefore, you need to be under oxygen support.
Okay.
That was scary. And even the way it was communicated, it looked like, is that Sammy? Yes, you need to be in an ambulance.
As soon as possible.
Coming. And I said, why? The lady thought that the doctor had called me.
Oh.
So she thought, I know.
Yeah.
And I said, sorry, I didn't know that. And she apologized and said, sorry, but you need to be here quickly.
Okay.
And I realized if the ambulance comes in the neighborhood, it will raise the alarm.
Yeah.
Therefore, I told my wife, drive slowly.
Yes.
It's not a long distance. We should be in the hospital. And I was left there alone, a lonely journey. Yeah. Because apart from doctors and nurses who come, they are covered in masks and in PPEs. And most of the time you are there alone, fighting for your life. But God was good. My family was also diagnosed to be positive. My three children and my wife. Funny enough, our 2 workers did not contract COVID.
Okay. For the family members, was it as serious as your?
No.
Okay.
It was asymptomatic.
Well, that's really proper.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you go into ICU?
Yes, I did. I was admitted on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
The following day, I became very ill.
Yes.
And when I rang the bell, because I was feeling now I'm becoming sick.
Yeah.
And they came and said, Sammy, your oxygen levels are low, your inflammations are very high, you need to be under ICU. So the same bed was converted into a cat, like chasing me on the corridors of...
In the ward.
Yes, into the ICU. And I was in the ICU for 5 days. I think on the 6th I left and went to my room, general ward, where again for 5 days they monitored me before they released me.
It must have been a challenging time for the family.
Definitely.
Yeah.
However, it's also good, some of these things for us as clergy to go through. One, we will understand what our members go through when they are sick. So it's not entirely bad. And number 2, when I was in the ICU, I asked myself, who am I? am I just Sammy, or am I a leader? If I'm Sammy, I should be as quiet as possible.
Yes.
It's private matter.
Exactly.
But I thought I'm a leader, and saying a word to Kenyans, telling them this thing is real, because people used to say, do you know somebody who knows somebody?
Yes.
Now, this time, being a public leader, I wanted everybody to know it's true. Provost can get COVID, therefore you can get COVID. I became an advocate now of proper living and hygiene. Actually, Mutahi Kagwe owes me something because I became an advocate.
Well, I'm sure the message has reached Mutahi Kagwe. Now, let's speak about the changes that were brought about by COVID-19 and the pandemic in itself. Being a member of the clergy, you definitely had to adapt to the fact that perhaps most of the congregation can't physically come to church. Well, at first they weren't allowed to go to church. Then later on, most can't come to church. Others had to join via way of television or online. Speak to us about this paradigm shift from the conventional to the not so used to.
It's interesting that I had been asking the media team in the cathedral, why can't you stream live the services?
Even before COVID?
Even before COVID.
Okay.
And they would say, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that. And I would ask them, give me the list, let me look for money, so that a member of the cathedral, that time I was only thinking about the member of the cathedral. If they are in London, they can be able to get a service.
Easily.
Little did I know, in a week's time or a month's time, things will have changed. And I got the news of the closure of the church quite early. And I was told, get ready. And so I consulted with the Archbishop on the same. We were not sure. Closing church is not easy.
Yes.
Cathedral has been opened over 100 years. How do you close a church? Exactly. But as leaders, we needed to take responsibility. And that's what that is. Leadership is about taking responsibility and making tough decisions. So we did it, and I remember that Sunday, people still came, but during the sharing of peace, I told them no greeting. Number 2, at the door, I had the sanitizer. So that one I was able to do pretty quickly. We became proactive. But later, the church closed. So I had a crisis meeting, and I asked my people, so, does it mean now that the church is closed that you guys don't have a job to do? And I told the clergy, this is what will happen. Number 1, every day of the week, there will be devotionals. So on a Wednesday morning, we'll be coming and you record 6 sermons. You feed the church. And the church now is not all saints. So a 10-minute sermon, a hymn, and a prayer. 15 minutes. As people go to work, they should be fed. That was the first thing we did. The second one, we collaborated with KBC, and I must say a big thank you to KBC. They have been with us since March, and we haven't paid anything. The other one was TV 47. A member of the cathedral with a company called Newsline also came in. So we had the support systems. And since March last year, we have preached the gospel to the world throughout. Actually, you said earlier you have changed from the conventional to non-conventional. The congregation now has moved from All Saints Cathedral to the world. It diversified.
Well, this is proper.
Perfect. God has a sense of humor that he can bring a virus, he can allow a virus that changes the way mission is done by the church.
And we see an opportunity.
And I think we needed a paradigm shift in the church. We needed something that would tell us things cannot remain normal. Even in the new normal, Cathedral will continue to relay their sermons and their services online. So it's part of our lifestyle now.
I'd like us to speak about some of the sermons you have given at the pulpit, and I don't know, it might have rubbed some people the right or the wrong way, But irrespective of that, you were speaking facts. Number one, you mentioned that we are a country of thieves minus opportunity. Talk to me about this. Why would you call me a thief?
Well, it's you to answer. It's you to tell me whether you are a thief, lacking an opportunity. But let me give two backgrounds very quickly.
Briefly.
Number one is I have been preaching, and I also write. So I have preached, because sometimes the media chooses what you want to amplify. We have done that. We've written open letters. We've said things are not okay. Cathedral has been known for over 100 years, with provosts and archbishops speaking into the nation. But now, the context in which I spoke in January this year,
yes.
If you told me at the beginning of the year that I will speak such sermons, I would have said no. But I come here after doing 2 sermons introducing the theme of the year, which is Joshua 14, verse 12, where Joshua is claiming now the mountain as an appropriation of the promise God had made. I come home and I could feel literally that the Lord was leading me to speak about the mess we are in. And I said, if truly the church is the conscience of the society, we must speak. By the way, we don't speak because we are perfect. We speak because we are part of this nation. And I said, Kenyans are. Who is even me as Provost? I am a Kenyan. And so the indictment is not just about them. And if you listen to my sermons, I wasn't just speaking to the leadership, the political leadership. I actually started with an individual Christian.
Okay.
I even challenged them about the way they do businesses. I even told them, even if they brought the entire tithe or whatever money in the house, they will not get the blessing. That was an indictment on individual believers. You see, theology is about reflection. You reflect Scripture with the immediate context and the wider context.
Okay.
So my immediate context are the believers I'm speaking to.
Yes.
The wider context, it could be the social, political, economic context around us. And I have said, and let me repeat again, that the gospel is never neutral. The gospel, even when Jesus Christ preached, it tickled people the wrong way. Yeah. Why? He was saying things that were against the norm. Yes. Any sermon that entertains people and they go home feeling nice is not a sermon. That is a talk show. Any gospel that is preached properly must challenge our sinfulness and our corruption. Kenyans, we become thieves. We only lack an opportunity. Anybody who goes to a senior position, and unfortunately our politicians have created that culture. An MCA is employed today. Within a very short time, they have amassed so much wealth. So what were they? They were potential thieves that lacked an opportunity. An MP is elected. And you also hear, if a public servant retired without a lot of wealth, they are called fools.
Yes.
They are called fools.
Exactly.
That tells you that as a Kenyan society, we have normalized evil. We have normalized corruption. That in fact, if you're not corrupt, you are seen to be foolish.
Yes.
And let me just say this. You go home with a big car. Your mother will never ask you, how did you get that car? In fact, some parents stop being parents now and they become children, and the children become parents.
Yes.
Why? Because the guy is giving a lot of money. I think as a Christian nation, because we are a Christian nation or a religious nation, we should be able to challenge even our children. When we see them with wealth, they cannot account for.
Speaking of challenging, many might challenge the role of the church in all this debacle, especially giving space on the pulpit to politicians, to leaders alike who might pass a specific agenda. What would you say about the role of the church in this current time and age? Because back in the day, many might argue the church was more hands-on. We had the likes of Reverend Joya, who would definitely oppose physically to the current regime at that time.
But let me tell you, the space that time was constricted.
Yes.
The only enemy, so to say, was the Kanu government that had ruled people with an iron fist for a long time. So those times, the Njoyas, the Gitaris, the Muges were the heroes of their time.
Yes.
They fought for the people. They became like the opposition to the government.
True.
Now ask me today, the space has become so wide, so many people speak that one person cannot be a hero. And I didn't speak this to be a hero at all. In fact, I can tell you, it's a dangerous place to be in today. The attack is from your own people, your own believers. So it's not a popular gospel today. It was a popular gospel that time. And maybe this is why today the church leaders would find it hard to go that route.
And to challenge the status quo.
Yeah, and to challenge the status quo. But also, when the church becomes beneficiary of a corrupt system, unfortunately, whoever pays the piper calls the tune.
Simple.
And so, politicians, when they come to church, they don't just come there. They have an agenda. But at All Saints, it's different. When people come there, they bring their souls. I have never allowed, and even when I've had the president and the deputy president, and even the Honorable Raila Odinga, whenever they have come and recognized them and gave them a minute, they have never spoken politics. Why? It is a controlled space.
Okay.
But unless the leadership is strong enough, our Archbishop was the first one to speak about discouraging about the use of pulpits. And therefore, I already know the Archbishop has a stand, and therefore I have a stand.
Yeah.
And all of us should have a stand.
Okay.
But in some of these churches, how do you make a sermon? And you know, after the sermon, people should just have the blessing and go home. Then you allow politicians a whole hour after the sermon to start politicking.
I won't remember the sermon.
And start attacking one another. So why did people come to church?
Exactly.
So the church stops being a religious platform and it becomes a political platform.
Yes.
Let me just say this. In the cathedral, I've had people who have been members of that church for maybe 60 years. They never come there to speak. They bring their heart, they bring themselves, their sacrifices to be nourished.
Among them are politicians, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah.
They come there to be served. So what right does one person have to come and simply because he holds a public office to speak? In the cathedral, if I was to recognize everybody who is in public space, then it will take me an entire day.
Yeah.
But even in smaller churches where you may not have all those people, let us not commercialize the gospel. If a politician wants to give, and they should give, because it's part of our Christian culture to give, to be generous. But you don't need to show. You don't need to announce. You don't need to make it too public. You don't need to tell people it's like you owe me something.
I mean, your left hand shouldn't know.
No.
Exactly.
No. In fact, during the COVID time, we've received more offerings than sometimes we have ever received before, and it was given quietly.
So how do churches break the chain? Because whoever controls the money definitely has a say in the day-to-day running of the church.
Well, the church has to make a decision. And church here is quite diverse. It's general, but denominations, they need to be careful. If this country burns today, even the church will burn. It will not remain standing because it was a church. Turkey was a Christian nation, and many others that we can talk about.
Yes.
Some of the places in Asia Minor where Paul preached. What has happened today? There are ruins today. And what the danger of we are facing, all of us as church, is being pushed towards conformity.
Okay.
Whether it is moral conformity, that now you can accommodate everybody in, or it is political conformity, the church must preach a gospel of non-conformity.
Okay.
And define who are we, what are we called to do, and do exactly that.
Okay.
And let me tell you, I've learned, God is faithful. People will give. Some of the people who have supported the church during this time of COVID are normal people, but they were generous to the church.
All right.
Therefore, do not be bought by a certain politicians or anything. And maybe what I'm calling for is the integrity of church leadership.
Well, integrity is a big issue. And I'd like us to talk about something that has definitely come to the limelight right now, the narrative that is being peddled around politics. You've spoken at length about it, but I still want to pick your mind. The hustler versus dynasty narrative. I don't know. Many have argued it's dangerous. It might contribute to class wars. But on the other side, others argue that it has highlighted something that is in society.
Let me tell you, the problem is not the hustler dynasty narrative.
Yeah.
Because even the tribal one ends up where? Into the same place. It is the narrative of dividing Kenyans.
Okay.
Whether it is class,
lines,
or whether it is political, or whether it is tribe.
Yes.
I think that is where the danger lies. And in my sermons, I have spoken about all these sides. When I spoke about the hustler dynasty narrative, I was said to be, this guy is a Kieleweke guy.
Or you're against BBI.
Or I'm against BBI.
Okay.
I was branded.
Yes.
The following Sunday, when I spoke, he said, now he's anti-government,
Yes.
anti-B. So I've been branded. And any preacher who goes that direction should be ready to be branded. The hustler dynasty narrative, I guess those who started speaking about it at the beginning, their definition of a hustler, which is the Kenyan definition, it's not the dictionary.
No.
The dictionary one is very
different.
But the Kenyan understanding of a hustler ni mtu wa kuhustle, mtu wa kujikaza, na sisi zote ni hustlers. I've not been given anything by my dad or the church or anything. I have also worked hard, and me and my wife. So I also am a hustler, if that is the definition of Kenyans.
Yes.
The dynasty was referring to maybe some 5 families at the top who are maybe entitled to power and influence. But look at the mutation. That's where the danger lies. It has now mutated so much that a motorbike guy is hit by a car, and maybe it was even his own mistake. He doesn't wait for the police, they burn the car.
Yes.
What about the bicycle guy? He will also choma the border.
Taking action
you
into
can
their own
see,
hands.
yes, you can see how far it goes. And even last week you had Deputy Governor's car torched.
Yes.
So it is the mutation that is dangerous. And so leaders must be careful with the divisive narrative. Let me just give another example of the tribal
Briefly.
one. The tribal one is, today the tribe could be Kikuyu, Kales on one side against the others. That could be one. But how far will it go? Even amongst the ODM or the NASA group, there are different tribes there. And if you say, my tribe has been in leadership, therefore yours should not, now it will even come to the church.
Yes.
Wainaina, today you are a Kikuyu, so the next one cannot be a Kikuyu.
Shouldn't be, yeah.
Can you see how it can go? You are a managing director, so you represent a tribe. When I got employed by the All Saints, it's not my tribe that was employed. They saw an ability in me that could serve them. So the next guy, it's about abilities.
Yes.
So you can see the mutation of these narratives about dividing Kenyans. All of them are bad, and this is where the church needs to speak against them.
Speaking against it will or might land you in trouble. Speak from your own experience. Being this straightforward in your sermons, even writing an open letter to the president, how was the blowback? How bad was it?
Well, it's a very lonely journey. Anybody wanting to go that direction. But I must say this, even the prophets of the old were not popular. The messages they gave, look at Nathan going to David after he had sinned with Bathsheba. How do you tell a whole king that you are an adulterer? Is that easy? So even during our time, the prophets of our time, it will never be easy. And I have learned. When I was asked by many people, I said, when the backlash came, I asked myself one simple question: did I hear the message of the Lord, or was it my message? If it is mine, I'm very unfortunate. But I was clear. Jesse, I can tell you I'm clear. I heard it clearly. Maybe the way I said it could bring problems. That tells you I'm human.
Yes.
But in terms of the message
itself,
that is purely from
So
God.
there was backlash?
Oh, big time.
From within, from...
Everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Oh,
and even people are worried about my security.
Your family as well?
My family. Yeah. Sometimes I was told to change cars or to have my driver all through. And I had all manner of advices. People feared for my life. But can I tell you, it was normal for me. Okay, I could feel, I'm human,
yes,
I could feel fear.
Definitely.
But again, who gave me the message? The Lord. So I continued and on, trusting on the Lord. And I said it in week 1, I said it in week 2, I said it in week 3.
You sustained it, yes.
I was called in the media houses. I said the same. I even carried with me my sermon.
Yes.
And I said, guys, I have my sermon here. I'm not a madman. I know. I write things. I prepare my sermons. So it's not something that I thought in the pulpit, oh, let me attack. No. It was thought through and prayed through.
Were you attacked personally? I'm sure with the age of social media right now.
All manner of attacks.
Okay.
But on the general,
yes,
maybe 90% were people who are resonating with the message and say, you know what, guys? By the way, can I tell you something I learned that was funny?
Yes.
The politicians picked it now and used it against me, or others used it against each other. But nobody has ever asked me, why did you call us thieves? Nobody. They know it is true.
They know it's true.
That Kenyans will become a nation where we look for opportunities to take something away. A very, very bad culture. I don't know what can happen, and it is a political leadership to stop it so that it can trickle down. It can't start from the bottom coming down. The current is too heavy. It must start down, and politicians wanting to be held accountable. But let me tell you, what is happening still is bad, because even after that, MCAs are given 2 million shillings. Why give them now? Haven't they been in office for the last almost 3 years? Why give them now? So that they can pass a bill? You don't want this bill to be discussed? You are passing these things at the counties very, very quickly? Hello, you should ask yourself, what is it in BBI that I don't know? Let me ask you, Jesse, have you ever seen a booklet written BBI?
Well, due to my work, I have.
A book?
Yes.
Where are they?
No, not really a written book, but the constitutional
No,
amendment bill.
In 2010, what did you have? You had a booklet?
Yes.
You had newspaper cutting?
Yes.
These things were available. Why are we do we know which BBI we are talking about? BBI 1, BBI 2?
Civic education has been an issue.
Yeah, and it's not, not that we are against it, but what I'm calling as a public leader is, please bring things to the limelight. Let me know what I'm voting for.
Okay.
But you see what? Civic education has been curtailed, and that's why I'm raising the question. And as a leader, I should raise questions.
Well, they mentioned they'll print 10 million copies.
Where are they?
Well, we're still waiting.
Where are they?
Okay, good question. Going forward, as we conclude, sir.
So when you see me raise these questions, I'm not asking for myself only, and I listen to many people.
Yes.
So by the time I'm reflecting on them, it is something I'm asking on behalf of the people. Guys, why don't you make these things open as possible? Like now, when President goes out in his cars, in those public rallies, he should distribute as many as possible. As possible. When Raila Odinga goes, when Ruto goes, use your networks to make sure people have information. And that is our democracy. In fact, this is not something we are requesting. This is our right as Kenyans.
Okay.
Otherwise, we may vote for something that later you realize we were putting
the cord
around our neck, and we are gone. So let's be open to discourse. Let's be open to dissent. And that's why I listen to Mother Karua when he says, no, listen to another voice, and don't condemn me for that.
Okay. Well, that's proper. The role of the church will be quite instrumental, bearing in mind the turmoil that the country goes through, especially during election cycles. 2022 general election is just around the corner. How would you envisage the role of the church, especially since, as we can see, politics is already taking center stage? There's 16 months to the general election.
It's unfortunate. Okay, BBI, being a good idea,
right, yes.
should have come early so that we finish with it, settle down, work, then we start now the succession politics. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it has come too close.
Yes.
So it's like 2 years of politics. That's not very, very good. And therefore, the church has been involved in the past in civic education. Mm-hmm. That should be our role. Let us speak about it, and let's give people both sides. What are the pros? What are the cons? And I will also warn the church not to get excited with a particular politician at this point. Mm-hmm. I have seen some church leaders who rush to State House, some church leaders who rush to the deputy, to Honorable Raila Odinga, aligning themselves. The church should not align itself. We have a clear message. We have only one gospel to preach. Mm-hmm. Let us use it to challenge the evils and the ills of our society. Let us give people proper information. Like now, if I was brought 1,000 or 5,000 copies of BBI, yeah, I would distribute them in the cathedral. And we did that during the 2010 referendum.
And it's proper you brought 2010 referendum up because you're talking about aligning. This time round, has the church given its stand on the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020?
I don't think they did.
Yes.
First of all, during this process of the BBI discussions, the church gave its own proposals. They were not taken. And you must have seen the evangelicals even giving their own, coming out and saying, sorry,
yes,
our views were not taken. So the church is disgruntled. And that's why you may not see a lot of support from the church. But what is happening currently is trying to influence the church. Like there was a meeting for pastors from every county in Ufungamano. And later on in my tweet, I asked, so who are these pastors?
Yes.
I'm right in the city, and I know many other pastors in the city. But you see, what they want is to select. You come acclaim. Is that a discourse? Some of us, don't call us to meetings where you acclaim. We'll say, no, let us discuss. I want to hear you. Put facts here. Let me put mine here. That's how consensus is built. And so the church must be careful. There will be so many formations between now and next year.
Yes.
So many formations that if you are aligned to one, you'll find yourself alone. So let's maintain our stand to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is dynamic, which challenges every facet of humanity. And that should be. And where we need to do civic education, let's do it, and let's not fear.
All right.
Where we feel something is evil, let's call it evil.
Okay.
That's our role.
That's proper. As we conclude, finally, a message to the youthful population in Kenya right now, because I mean, most of them are disgruntled rather, because majority of those who are unemployed might fall in the youth category. We have the general election coming up right now. Most of the youth are actually used by politicians during this particular period. What message would you give the young?
Why do our youth allow themselves to be used by politicians? If they can only, there are two groups in Kenya. If they only used the power of their vote, they can change this nation.
But they're not enabled economically.
Women, you see what? Women and the youth. We may say that. But when you go to the voting booth, you are there alone.
Yes.
It's only you and your conscience. Why don't you vote properly? And so I want to encourage our young people, come out. Come out. We will encourage you. By the way, we are not saying that politics is dirty. No, politics is good. It's what develops a nation. It's only that we need to challenge the evils in it. Otherwise, politics is something we should be involved in. If you wait until everybody is empowered so that they can participate, youth will take a long time.
Okay.
So I'm telling youth and women, take advantage. Be decisive that as you go to the next general election, you're going to vote more women, you're going to vote more younger youths. And I'll tell the youth, if you went there in the name of being youth, but you be corrupt the same way those old people were, you will not have solved the problem.
Exactly.
Change the narrative.
And I think the message about servant leadership definitely stands out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so sad that we've lost it. And Jesus would emphasize about it when he's asking Peter, do you love me?
Okay.
Feed my flock. It's not about serve them. And I wish we would think more about making our Kenyans better. I feel so bad as a pastor when I see very poor people come to church. Some have cancer. They cannot be able to afford even simple drugs. I ask, so why was the government elected? I thought we elect people so that they can take care of us. Unfortunately, in Kenya, we elect people to take care of themselves. If I would advocate for any government, leave this hustler, wheelbarrows, and tribal politics and BBI politics. If I was in power today, I would think about the economy of Kenya and how I can use policies that can propel people. You know what? We don't need everybody to come down so that we go up. Those who are up should pull those who are down so that you can be able to eat well, take your children to school, go to hospital without begging anyone. Unfortunately, our politicians don't want empowerment, economic empowerment especially. Why? Because we will challenge them. Please, Kenyans, women, youths, use your votes to change this nation. We have an opportunity. We are not hopeless. There's hope.
Well, and the role of the church will definitely be instrumental in that.
And as the church will continue to speak,
yes,
I, as a provost, will continue to speak. It's our prophetic role.
Well, when's your next sermon?
Soon. It will be known.
It will be known, yeah.
There's pressure for me to preach.
Yes.
But it's also good to allow others to preach.
As well.
But I will continue to speak about these matters.
And we definitely hope you do that as members of the Fourth Estate as well. We hope.
And please support us. Because the Fourth Estate sometimes is too selective. And you keep running. You give politicians so much prime time. But you don't give other people. But I must say thank you.
Yeah.
That this time you've come to a clergyman.
Well, challenge accepted. Thank you so much. Well, we just had a proper, fruitful discussion right here with the Provost of the All Saints Cathedral in the Anglican Church of Kenya. Sammy Wainaina, thank you for welcoming us to your humble abode. And we did share a meal and some conversation right here, which will definitely yield fruits to our viewers back at home. All right, let's take a short break. You're watching Person of Interest right here on Morning Express. When we come back, plenty more on the other side.
That was good. I love that conversation.
It was an insightful discussion.
Yeah, very, very insightful, and a shift from the normal politicians, as he said.
Exactly.
Now, time to interview the interviewer. What was your experience? I envy that breakfast, though.
I still have memories about it, definitely. But the conversation was definitely fruitful, especially around the role of the church when it comes to various matters touching on policy and governance. Interesting conversation right there.
Very, very good. Look forward to more of those kinds of conversation here on Morning Express. Jesse Rogers has a slew of personalities that he wants to bring into your homes so you can understand what makes them tick. So keep it Morning Express. But for today, we'd like to thank you so much for tuning in and wish you a lovely day ahead. My name is Trix Ingado.
Well, it's Super Tuesday. All the best. Do keep it KTN News. We'll definitely get to monitor from the counties as we actually push for the passing of this in the minimum 24 counties. My name is Jesse Rogers. Do keep it KTN News and have yourself a fantastic day.